Most people do not wake up one day and suddenly discover the meaning of life. More often, meaning is hiding in ordinary routines, the work we return to, the people who expect us, the small duties that make us feel needed, and the quiet feeling that tomorrow still has something worth doing. That is the heart of Ikigai by Hector Garcia and Francesc Miralles. The book asks a simple question with a difficult answer: what keeps a human being alive, awake, useful, and inwardly young, even as the body grows older? Welcome. In this first part, we will look at the foundation of the book, what Ikigai means, why the authors connect it with longevity, and why the search for purpose is not just a philosophical luxury, but a daily health practice. The book begins with a meeting between the two authors in Tokyo. They talk about Western psychology, especially Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, and about the human need to have a reason to continue. Then one Japanese word enters the conversation: Ikigai. The authors describe it as a reason for being, the reason we get up in the morning, and also as the happiness of staying meaningfully busy. This is important because the book is not saying that happiness is constant pleasure. It is not saying that a good life is a life without effort. It is saying almost the opposite. A good life is one in which effort has a direction. You may still be tired. You may still have problems. But if your life contains something that pulls you forward, your days do not feel empty. For the authors, Okinawa becomes the living example of this idea. Okinawa is famous for longevity, and one village in particular, Ojimai, is often called a village of longevity. The book does not present Okinawa as a magical place where nobody suffers. It presents Okinawa as a place where the basic architecture of life still supports purpose, people remain active, neighbors remain connected, elders remain visible, and daily routines keep the body and mind engaged. This is one of the first lessons for the audience. Ikigai is not only a private dream. It is also shaped by the environment around us. If a society treats older people as useless, then aging becomes emotional exile. If a community gives older people roles, friendships, rituals, gardens, music, and daily reasons to leave the house, then aging becomes participation. The book explains that everyone has an Ikigai, but not everyone has found it clearly. This idea is easy to misunderstand. It does not mean that every person has one perfect career or one secret mission written somewhere in destiny. It means that every person has sources of meaning that can be discovered through patient attention. Your Ikigai may be connected to work, family, craft, teaching, service, art, faith, nature, friendship, or simply the care you give to a small circle of people. The practical question is not, what is the one impressive thing I can tell the world? The better question is, what makes my life worth continuing when nobody is clapping? That is why the book connects Ikigai with aging. Aging is not only a biological process. It is also a psychological and social process. Some people become old because the calendar moves forward. Others become old because they stop participating in life. The authors keep returning to the idea that staying young while growing old depends on staying active, curious, connected, and useful. The early chapters also discuss anti-aging, but the strongest points are not about chasing immortality. The book mentions scientific dreams of extending life, but it balances that with a more human question. If life becomes longer, what will fill it? More years alone, bored, anxious, and disconnected would not be a victory. The purpose of longevity is not just to delay death. It is to deepen life. Here the book becomes very practical. It suggests that small habits matter because the body and mind are always listening to the life we live. Stress, worry, sitting all day, isolation, overeating, and loss of purpose do not merely make life unpleasant. They slowly shape the body. On the other side, movement, friendship, moderation, sleep, curiosity, and meaningful activity become daily signals that life is still worth investing in. One of the most useful ideas in this part of the book is that the brain needs challenge. If we repeat only what is easy, the mind grows dull. If we expose ourselves to manageable difficulty, the mind stays alive. This applies to learning a language, practicing an instrument, solving problems, meeting people, reading difficult books, or doing work that requires attention. The point is not to become restless. The point is to keep giving the mind something real to organize itself around. The book also emphasizes stress. Modern people often live in a state of constant low-grade emergency. The phone keeps calling for attention. Work leaks into rest. Comparison never stops. Even when nothing dangerous is happening, the body behaves as if it must stay ready for attack. Over time, this wears people down. Ikigai offers a different rhythm. It does not ask us to become lazy. It asks us to distinguish urgent noise from meaningful action. A person can be very busy and still feel empty if the busyness has no meaning. Another person can work hard and still feel peaceful if the work is connected to purpose, craft, service, or love. This distinction matters for the audience. Many people hear the word purpose and immediately think they must make a dramatic life change. Quit the job. Move to another country. Start over. But the book is more subtle. It shows that purpose may already be present in small forms. The task is to recognize it, protect it, and build the day around it. Think about an elderly person tending a garden. From the outside, it may look simple. But inside that routine are movement, responsibility, beauty, memory, patience, food, weather, and continuity. The garden gives the person a reason to bend, water, notice, and return tomorrow. This is not a small thing. A reason to return tomorrow is one of the deepest medicines human beings have. The book also explores community through the Okinawan concept of mutual support groups. The idea is that people form circles of social and practical support, sharing not just money or labor, but belonging. Longevity is not presented as the achievement of the isolated individual who hacks the body perfectly. It is shown as something supported by relationships. This is a powerful correction to modern self-improvement culture. Many books tell us to optimize ourselves alone, our morning routine, our diet, our productivity, our mindset. Ikigai says that the self is not enough. A long and happy life needs other people. We need to be seen. We need to be expected. We need to matter to someone beyond ourselves. In the book, this social side of Ikigai is not sentimental. It is practical. When people know their neighbors, they have more reasons to leave the house. When they share rituals, they have more anchors in the week. When they support one another, a personal crisis does not immediately become total isolation. The individual life is held inside a web of small commitments. This is one reason the Okinawan picture is so compelling. The authors are not only impressed by age. They are impressed by the way age is lived. The elders they describe are not simply surviving indoors. They are participating. They are embedded in routines that require them to move, remember, laugh, cook, visit, grow food, and show up. In that kind of environment, a person is less likely to feel that life has already ended before the body has. For many viewers, this may be the most uncomfortable lesson. We often think purpose is something we must discover privately, perhaps by journaling, meditating, or taking a personality test. Those tools can help, but Ikigai suggests that meaning is also discovered through contribution. You learn what gives life meaning by noticing where your presence is useful. You find yourself by becoming necessary in some honest way. This is different from becoming important. Importance is often about status. Usefulness is about contribution. A person can be famous and still feel empty. A person can be almost unknown and still feel deeply rooted because their life feeds other lives. Ikigai is much closer to usefulness than to fame. The book also helps us separate pleasure from fulfillment. Pleasure is immediate. Fulfillment often arrives after effort. Pleasure says, "What will make me feel good right now?" Fulfillment asks, "What will make this day feel worthwhile when I look back on it tonight?" A life needs pleasure, but it cannot be built only from pleasure. Without purpose, pleasure becomes thin. With purpose, even simple pleasures become richer because they are part of a meaningful rhythm. This is why the book's approach to youth is not cosmetic. The anti-aging discussion is less valuable if we read it as a chase for perfect biology. It becomes much more valuable if we read it as a reminder that the body responds to how we live. A mind that keeps learning sends one message. A body that keeps moving sends another. A community that keeps expecting us sends another. Over years, those signals become the climate of a life. The authors also make room for curiosity. Curiosity is a sign that we are still in conversation with life. When curiosity disappears, the future shrinks. The world becomes something we already know, already judged, already dismissed. But when curiosity remains, even old age contains discovery. There is still a new recipe, a new song, a new conversation, a new memory, a new question, a new way to help. This gives the audience a simple test. Ask yourself whether your current routine is training you to become more alive or less alive. Does your week include movement, connection, challenge, service, and recovery? Or is it mostly stress, consumption, isolation, and sleepwalking? Ikigai is not asking for perfection. It is asking for honest attention. If the answer is uncomfortable, the solution does not have to be dramatic. Begin by adding one living signal. A walk in the morning. A regular call with a friend. A small garden pot. A class. A craft. A volunteer hour. A family meal without a screen. A task that stretches your mind. A commitment that makes someone else quietly count on you. These small actions are not small if they change the direction of a life. At the same time, the book is not naive about the search for purpose. Finding Ikigai can take time. It may be buried under obligations, fear, habit, shame, or exhaustion. Many people live for years doing what is expected without asking what gives them life. The book does not offer a single test that solves everything. It invites a slower search. One useful way to begin is to observe energy. What activities leave you feeling more alive after doing them, even if they require effort? What conversations make time pass quickly? What problems do you naturally care about solving? What did you love before you learned to judge whether it was practical? What do other people come to you for? These questions do not instantly reveal a grand destiny, but they point toward the shape of meaning. Another way is to look at responsibility. Modern culture often treats freedom as the absence of responsibility. But the book suggests that responsibility can be one of the roots of purpose. We feel alive when something worthwhile depends on us. A child, a student, a patient, a craft, a garden, a business, a community, a promise, or a creative project can become a reason to stand up straight. This is why retirement is such an interesting theme in Ikigai. In many cultures, retirement means stopping work completely and finally resting. But the book suggests that stopping all meaningful activity can be dangerous. The problem is not rest itself. Rest is necessary. The problem is losing the reason to wake up. In Okinawan life, many people do not retire in the psychological sense. They keep contributing, moving, meeting, cooking, farming, singing, helping, and learning. For the audience, this does not mean you should work forever in a job that drains you. It means you should never retire from being useful. You can retire from a company. You can retire from a schedule. But you should not retire from purpose. The first part of Ikigai therefore gives us a different definition of youth. Youth is not only smooth skin or physical speed. Youth is openness to tomorrow. It is the feeling that there is still something to learn, someone to help, a practice to improve, a place to go, a reason to move. A person can be young in this sense at 80. A person can lose it at 30. The book's message is not that purpose prevents all suffering. It is that purpose changes the way suffering is carried. When life has no meaning, even small burdens feel heavy. When life has meaning, even heavy burdens can become bearable because they belong to a larger story. That larger story does not have to be grand. This is one of the most freeing ideas in the book. Some people pressure themselves to find a purpose that sounds impressive enough for other people to admire. But Ikigai may be quiet. It may be making a home peaceful. It may be mentoring younger people. It may be healing from bitterness so your family inherits less pain. It may be mastering a trade. It may be caring for animals, preserving a tradition, or creating beauty in a small corner of the world. If we measure purpose only by scale, we miss the kind of meaning that actually sustains daily life. The person who tends a garden does not need the whole world to know. The garden knows. The body knows. The neighbor who receives vegetables knows. The morning knows. Ikigai is intimate before it is impressive. The first part of the book therefore challenges the audience to stop treating meaning as a future event. Many people live as if purpose will begin after the next achievement, after the next promotion, after the children grow up, after retirement, after there is more money, after life becomes easier. Ikigai asks us to begin now, inside the day we already have. So the first lesson of Ikigai is this: do not begin by asking how to live longer. Begin by asking what would make a longer life worth living. Then design the day so that your body, mind, and relationships receive that answer in small repeated actions. If your Ikigai is not clear yet, that does not mean you have failed. It means the search has begun. Look for what gives energy, what creates responsibility, what connects you to others, and what makes tomorrow feel necessary. Meaning is rarely found by thinking alone. It is found by living carefully enough to notice what makes you come alive. Thank you for listening. In the next part, we will move deeper into the psychology of meaning and the experience of flow, where Ikigai connects Viktor Frankl, daily work, attention, and the kind of activity that makes time disappear. Until then, remember this: a long life is not built only by adding years. It is built by giving each day a reason to exist.